I know it's early time. Aloha, welcome to the Cafe Gallery, everybody. Hi. Hi, everybody. Oh, we've got phenomenal music from Gary here. And if anybody wants to have a choice of microphones, I guess I could try to do it in stereo if I wanted 2 mics, but, oh, keep playing, you're awesome. If you like. We have a great feature this evening, but things are starting to late because they haven't shown up yet, but GPA, the Poetic Unstuff, is our feature tonight. Yeah, I'm so looking forward to hearing him, I really am. I know everybody has to run to get here as quickly as they can. That's what we get here every early show. I'm sorry. And for anybody who's interested, I know that the Poetry Bomb is coming up this Sunday, which means that you're just supposed to bring poetry to the streets, right? And just read it somewhere where it's...
I know Robin's gonna be
over by the Millennium.
Yeah, the Bean.
By the Bean. And I was like, well, that would kind of suck if I picked the same place. But John had said to me, we should get on the L. And I'm like,
I'm just gonna hang out. I mean, I didn't get a chance to
if you can make it anywhere, that'd be cool. But like, look for a different place to go to. So we might hop onto like the Purple Line or something and just start tooling around and reading
Go on the
poetry.
pink line. Go on the pink line.
Go on the pink
Poetry
line.
on the pink line. Yeah.
Well, we'll see what I'm up to, but I've got a bunch of poems that I'm not planning on reading until I actually get them all done, about a bunch of elements for the periodic table. I'm going to try to write a poem about every element.
Wow.
Listen to Tom Meyer's song.
And
it's easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube, by the way. Or is that?
so, well, you try to read one thing about that one specific element, and some of them are short and some of them are like 3 pages long, and I'm like, beryllium.
And his ends
Put it in your hair.
And there may be many others, but they haven't been discovered.
So, anyway, I'm like, maybe I'll read some things from that, because I don't think I'm going to read them here until I've got something actually together for it. But, thanks to this wonderful Gary fellow here, I was going to read things that were set up with music from the Howman of South Africa. But because he's here, I looked for a piece, and this is a longer piece that is called You Left Me on Siesta Beach. Got a hotel overlooking Siesta Beach to see you. It was all sand and sun and fun when we were together. But after spending all night on the beach with you last night, we argued, and I screamed at you to leave me alone, and you stormed away. I couldn't tell if you were defiant or dejected when you left me at 4 a.m. But when I got back to my hotel overlooking the beach, I couldn't sleep. I called your cell at 5 a.m. It jumped to your voicemail. At 6 I heard sirens, so I looked out my hotel window overlooking the beach. I saw the lights and 2 ambulances and a crowd circled at the shoreline. My God, I thought, it was just an argument and we'll be okay. It can't be you. So I grabbed my phone and my keys and I ran to the elevator. I stepped inside. I heard 2 people talking about the unfolding news. I heard, they found a man washed up on the beach. He wasn't in swim clothes and he had no life vest, so they figured he committed suicide. So I ran out of that elevator as soon as those doors would open, sprinting to the beach. At the edge of the crowd, I dialed your number again, and again, no response. I glanced to my right and saw EMTs in a gurney with a zipped body bag. I ran toward that body bag. A policeman stopped me. I begged. I said, I may know this man. So he brought me over to the EMTs. They said the man had no identification. I gulped. And I said, I may know him. They looked at each other and they told me to be prepared when they opened the bag. I braced myself. Then they slowly unzipped the bag and I looked at his face. He was bloated from being in the water so long. He was pale from no blood circulating. And his eyes were wide open. I mean, it's not like the movies where an actor can press their fingers over the dead's eyes and the eyes stay closed. They even used to put coins over the eyes of the dead in the old days. So, his eyes were wide open. I stared at his vacuous stare, then turned away. I don't know this man, I told the EMTs, and they asked if I was sure. People look different when they die out in the water like this, they told me. And I said, that's not his eye color. And I walked away. Now I wonder what really died that day, since I never heard from you again. So incredibly awesome. You just are. And because I know for a fact that he was thinking of doing something with my handy-dandy, ultra-wonderful sidekick, I'm going to call up Mr. Oh, I have to get the full name, Robert Allen Oresko, baby. Give it up for Bob Oresko. Yeah. I didn't hear when you were reading. Can you say that again?
Oh yeah, this is by Jack Kerouac from the Outlaw Poetry Bible, which I haven't touched in a while. It's called 211th Chorus. The wheel of the quivering meat conception turns in the void, expelling human beings, pigs, turtles, frogs, insects, nits, mice, lice, lizards, rats, roan racing horses, poxy bucolic pig ticks, horrible unnameable lice of vultures, murderous attacking dog armies of Africa, rhinos roaming in the jungle, vast boars and huge gigantic bull elephants, rams, eagles, condors, pones, and porcupines and pills. All the endless conception of living beings gnashing everywhere in consciousness, throughout the 10 directions of space, occupying all the quarters in and out, from super microscopic no-bug to huge galaxy light-year bowel, illuminating the sky of one mind. Poor, I wish I was free of the slaving meat wheel and safe in heaven, dead. For this one, if you're familiar with the musical Lil Abner, something kind of hillbilly up-tempo jamboree thing. I read this Friday night at Let Them Eat Chocolate for Sweet and Sour Poetry, where our friends Robin Fine and Primo Cruz were among the features, and I like to think of the 2 poems I read that night, even though I was probably the least interesting person there. This one went over better than the other one did. So this is The Country's in the Very Best of Hands. One little lie goes a long, long way. Longer than a sheath of tinsel and a sprig of ivy. Longer than a large can of bakable beans. Longer than a local troupe's absurd production. Longer than a 4-hour epic movie drama. Longer than a languish-led longing by the lakeside. Longer than lovemaking from dusk till sun. Longer than candles lit for a peace vigil. Longer than candy can crackle and melt on your tongue. Longer than a filet mignon sits in the butcher shop. Longer than a funeral service for a fire felt fiercely. longer than a parade rambling up magnificent Michigan, longer than a project of intense intentions and goals, longer than hallways to elaborate Eastern temples, longer than housing papers determine shelter stead, longer than catfights between goddesses of Guinness, longer than clouds stretch their silent way through the blue, longer than apples, longer than angels, longer than echoes, longer than eras, longer than oceans, longer than orbits, and longer than the peninsula of our lives. Thank you. What's that?
You should see the library, you know better.
Oh yeah, I never saw it either, I just heard it.
I have to imagine.
Thanks, Gary.
What is it? Yes, and I have to even just say it. See if John would even move that camera over. Give it up, please, once, because I don't know if I'm going to be reading or having his music, because he might be leaving, but please give it up for Gary. I'm going to do it once for you, Angel.
You know, for me, it's a great challenge to try and...
I'm sure it is,
You know.
because you're like, well, just do something like this, and you're like, okay, and it sounds phenomenal. You're awesome. It's just officially awesome. So, because I don't know if he's going to be around, and because I wasn't planning on doing this, I'm going to do one slow one, or mellow one of my death-related ones. Yes, it is in the book. Stabbity, stabbity, stab, 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 because I have a lot of death poetry, I'm sure it's in there, but it also is in this collection book from cc&d magazine called Cultural Touchstone, which says things from the first 4 months of cc&d magazine. So I just pulled this out because I don't have anything. So this one, how would I describe this? This is mellow. Imagine looking at water and thinking of how a lot of people died, and it's a very mellow song. This is called Brook, the Reflection. I dropped her ashes down into the water. I wanted them to sink it down, but they just floated there as they broke the reflection of the sun. It reminded me of Oahu in 2001. It was the 60th anniversary of the day that lived in infamy, when over the USS Arizona I could only photograph with my mind the flowers I saw dropped from another survivor that floated along the water, breaking the tension of the oil still rising from the sunken battleship. My face was ashen as everything, too, still broke the reflection of the sun. See, I'm not applauding myself, I'm applauding Gary. That was really
I'm applauding you.
That was awesome. You're just awesome. See, death poetry can be mellow and groovy and, well, I don't know if it's groovy, but that's why I've got a whole book. Stabby, stabby, stab, stab, stab. Sorry. I actually saw a flyer in the 90s from some band or something playing, and it said this typeface on it, stabbity, stabbity, stab, stab, stab. I'm like, I have to remember this. And so that somehow became a death poetry book. Whatever. I don't have my booklet with me, but there is a man that came here that wants to test his worth, because I think that we would really love to hear this probably narrative poetry, which I love, coming from this newbie. So give him a huge welcome, Jeff. Get on up here. Jeff, Ray, get on up here.
Thanks. Well, this is part of a larger project. It's rooted in a statement made by a philosopher by the name of Emmanuel Levinas. He says, "We dwell, therefore we build architecture." To which I added the caveat, sadly then we forget how to dwell.
Oh.
And so my project is an attempt to melt down architectural structures to recover the human capacity that makes them possible. It helps that I work during the day in architectural restoration, which is important context for my greetings. And what these are, I call them imaginal vignettes. They're little stories that attempt to embody dwelling. So I'll read two of them. And first one's titled The Red Door of Courage. Like a lot of people who don't spend their days immersed in the world of color, my clients were, well, color shy. Their house was white, their rooms off-white, their furniture was beige. Add to this color shyness the fact that their house sat prominently on one of the busiest streets in town, and you can understand why agreeing to his wife's request to paint their front door red was a bold move for her even more color-modest husband. Meanwhile, he was facing a crisis at work. As the chief administrator for the town library, he was in the midst of budget negotiations with the town council. Years of deferred maintenance by his predecessors had come home to roost, and the lot had fallen to him to deliver the wake-up call that the library facilities were badly in need of extensive repair. Having stripped and sanded thick caked layers of paint from the door and door frame, I was ready to prime and paint. By the time the client arrived home at the end of the day, the door itself was finished, sanded, primed, and neatly wrapped in a shiny new red coat. Briefcase held in his hand, he stepped back to take a measured look, pausing briefly, his shoulders rising to full stature. He then declared for all the world to hear, or at least the neighbors, "I have a red door." The next morning I began the finish coat on the door frame. As usual, my client lingered a moment to chat before making his way off to work. He told me again how pleased he was with his shiny red door. In light of what lay in store for him that day, he said it would be good to recollect his satisfaction with what had been for both him and his wife a bold gesture of high-gloss fire engine proportions. I commiserated with him over the difficulty of having to be the bearer of bad news. Then, as he turned to go, I said, "When you step up to that podium to speak, you just raise your shoulders up to full stature and you say to yourself, 'I have a red door.'"
Yay for architecture!
Yes, for red doors. This is a little more serious. This is it's called Tikkun in Evanstown in January. Fresh snow had fallen the night before, slowing everyone down on their morning commute. The landscape was muted too beneath this blanket of snow. It was the first month of the year. The phrase that came to mind as I made my way to the job site that January morning was something from the Jewish Midrash Chaim Potok quotes at the beginning of one of his novels, "All beginnings are hard." January is hard for everyone, given the holidays and the cold weather, and well, just because, like I said, all beginnings are hard. But January can be particularly hard on craftsmen in the building trades. After the holidays, no one has money to work on their homes, and who wants to mess up their living space after they've just taken down the Christmas decorations, vacuumed up the pine branch needles from the floor? But we were fortunate this year. We had a job restoring windows in a 100-year-old house in the historic district of Evanstown. The contractor had talked the Historic Commission into letting him replace the generic windows with reproductions, but the Commission had insisted they preserve the ones with distinction. The curved windows, windows with diamond-shaped networks of divided light, and the arched windows that formed a ring of light around the crown of the rotunda. This was a good thing for us. It meant we had work in January. These few windows, though, were the sum total of all that had been salvaged from the original interior of the house. This was a gut rehab job. Gutting a building is a strange practice. The very fact that we speak of it this way as though it were a fish reveals how much like a living thing a building can become. Once it has been disemboweled, especially if it's an old house, the space becomes haunted, like the absence of a limb that has been severed. The light is different too. Because the space has been shorn of every obstruction and the interior walls have been stripped down to bare studs, light fills the space with an intensity not unlike what one experiences in a Gothic cathedral. The light was particularly haunting on this bright but slightly overcast January morning. Reflecting off the snow to stream through unobstructed windows, it bounced off the hardwood floors to join with the dust raised by the construction work in an ephemeral cloud-like glow. It was as if the whole space were a scene from a movie that had been purposefully rendered slightly out of focus, as a way, for instance, of suggesting the scene is dreamlike, except that this wasn't a manipulated light thrown out of focus by some mechanical means. This was natural. This was a dream. But it was subtle and could easily have been ignored. In fact, I don't think anyone else but me noticed it, and if I had drawn attention to it, they probably would have thought I was slightly off my rocker. Or at least they would have shrugged their shoulders and thrown me a glance and said, "Buddy, I don't know about you, but I've got work to do, so keep your craziness to yourself and let me do my job." Of course, nobody said that to me, but that was only because I had the sense to keep my craziness to myself. I actually liked working with these guys. In fact, it was an unusual work crew gathered on this job site. There was no mindless banter going on, guys ribbing one another in that competitive way they do when they're feeling insecure and want to make other guys feel even more so. These craftsmen were different. Everyone respected their work. They respected themselves too, so they could afford to respect one another as well. Everyone had a job to do and everyone was doing it. The silence was the silence of concentration, a concentration not unlike prayer. Working in this light with this crew on that cocoon of a January morning, something shifted. Or perhaps I just had too much coffee to drink that morning. Nevertheless, out of the corner of my eye, I saw space fold up into itself and into another world. These were no longer craftsmen renovating a house. They were a gathering of commissioned workers silently mending the world. In Judaism, this is called Tikkun. It has various meanings. The vision I saw, though, was that which is described in the mystical Luriatic tradition of Kabbalah, and which relates to a myth concerning the creation of the world. According to this myth, creation began in a cosmic act of hospitality, whereby the divine withdrew in order to make room, a hollow space, in which creation could then be made at home in itself. I love the word used to describe this discrete withdrawal of the Ein Sof, a word that sounds what it means, if ever there was one, Tzimtzum. Once the divine presence had withdrawn, the divine light that was needed to build creation was collected in 12 vessels, the Sephiroth, but the vessels proved to be not strong enough to contain this light, and they shattered, sending splinters everywhere. Sparks of light sank down into every substance of creation to become imprisoned in what then became dark and heavy matter. Tikkun is the act of repair, a commission given to every human being to recover these shard-like sparks of divine light and to release them from their imprisonment in the darkness and heaviness of matter. I have one quibble with this myth, though. According to most readings, the divine light is returned to God. One gets the impression from this act that matter itself is evil and the return to the divine light is the return to another world. But I think this is a misreading of what really happens. If you have ever seen a well-crafted piece of work, you recognize a graceful elegance that is neither heavy nor dark, but rather is something that sings. It takes on that quality which Milan Kundera once described as the unbearable lightness of being. The divine, released from the darkness of matter, stays right where it is, to radiate grace and light for all who have ears and eyes to see and hear. And that, I tell you, is what is wrong with things that can be purchased at Target or Kmart or IKEA. This ready-made stuff is dark and heavy. It has no God in it. But that is somewhat beside the point, though not really. The main point, and I'm coming to the end, the first point is to say that what I saw that January morning was true. And I am here to bear witness. The world is being repaired, and I saw it happening. There are workers in the vineyard. I saw them. They were busy at their tasks, and they were taking their work seriously. Since all beginnings are hard, their labor required concentration. But thanks be to God, or Allah, or the Ein Sof, they were doing their job and they were doing it well. Amen.
Thank you.
What was the Ein Sof, you said? How was that spelled?
He's about to-
SOF.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, it's, because you were here.
Nothing to do with the German Eintopf.
No.
You probably know what that is too.
Eintopf?
I don't remember, but it was the title of a short story that one of my coworkers wrote years ago, and I can't remember now what that is either.
He said, what should I go
That's a call of
back?
nothing.
What should I go
I don't know
back?
if you ever read it.
Well, just because you're here, because I'm like, I have to find something. I'm going to, just because I can, and I don't know if Batman's going to be going next, so I was going to read, it's from Stabbity, Stabbity, Stab, 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 two really, really short pieces. One, I had written after I had heard Tom Roby write a piece about Hiroshima that was like, haiku length. And so I did a short piece. But I had also written a piece that I know my sidekick Bob Arashko heard at the Palos Park reading of mine. It was one, I know, I read that one about
October
Hitler.
2009.
And you remember, it's like October 8th or something. I'm good for dates, but why would I remember this? But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read two, and they're like, see how tiny they are? And even if somebody applauds or something, just let the music go, and then I'll just go on to the next one.
And they're Hiroshima.
Well, actually it's about Dachau, but one's about gas chambers and one's about thinking about what Hitler did. So, but it's somber, angry but somber. How is that possible? It's a death poem. Stabby, stabby. So these are on ashes and witnessing Hitler's reign. Dachau's gas chambers work every morning as snow settles on ashes. I've watched the hopeless struggle for many years, knowing their fate was ultimately sealed, just for knowing him. I cry, but no tears come out. It seemed far too mellowed. Thank you very much. I don't know, and I'm pointing over at the tall one over there, and I think he wanted to read something by Fritz Hamilton. I'm not sure, so please, I'm going to give it up for the only person that's taller than me in this place. Give it up for Mr. John Yacko.
If you want to talk,
Do any music.
we should.
No, I don't want any
We
music.
should like get together.
I don't think music would go with this anyways, the way I'm going to read it. This is called, this is a poem by Fritz Hamilton, and I'm going to actually try to do it in the style of Bob Lawrence, so if you can imagine me being a little bit shorter.
Wait.
Devilish look on my face, and more facial hair and a ball cap.
And
That
psychotic?
book, that book is the cc&d collection book, and it says in the headers what issue it was in. It was in Cultural Touchstone, but this was in the March issue. Sorry. You have to
Okay.
let us know. I don't know what it says.
This piece is called Let's Bomb the Greenpeace Yacht by Fritz Hamilton. Let's bomb the Greenpeace yacht! They're sabotaging a whale-killing boat. If they succeed, sushi prices will soar. That's more important than a big mammal who's more sensitive and smart as man. A whale can't talk, so he doesn't object. So let's murder him for a few good bites, then we'll slaughter a porpoise too and stuff him into a tuna can. He'll make a good tuna sandwich or two. Isn't that better than an Auschwitz oven? At least we can get some food out of it. Even if it's not as fun as genocide, the Nazis gassing Jews or Turks butchering Armenians, still, it's more fun than cutting in worms. All the more reason to sink the Greenpeace yacht and let Davy Jones solve the problem. We can't obstruct progress. Let human nature prevail.
Short but sweet.
Is that a whole book of his?
No, this is
No,
a collection book
actually-
of everything through like.
That is a collection book of cc&d issues from the January through April issues. However, Fritz Hamilton has a book release and that poem is in it. And it is called Open Wounds. And it looks really cool. And it's very angry and disorderly. And I don't happen to have a copy with me. But yes, Fritz Hamilton has a book release. So check it out because he's the on-the-edge crazy psycho poet that seems to be in my issues a lot.
Yeah, isn't he in here like Ken DiMaggio? Isn't he in
I don't know. You'd have to look it up in the Bible because I don't know if he's in there. But I know God DiMaggio is in there. But yeah, Fritz Hamilton, he's in all of my. I've got cc&d magazine and I've got Down in the Dirt magazine. And he's like, really? I can publish more? I'll just send lots and lots and lots to you. And I'm like, please stop sending stuff because it's so far in the future. Please just stop it until for like 6 months, please. Wow. We can publish a book, but please just stop for a bit. But Fritz Hamilton, excuse me, is really, really cool. I've saved it for number 4. So please, and if you want any music, I don't know if you would, Mr. Angry Bot, but give it up for a new man from Newark, Charlie Newman himself. Coming up here. And pick your microphone.
I'll pick the one that works.
You have a choice between the one on the left and the one on the right.
I go on the left.
Of course.
You know, the mention of Auschwitz reminded me. Did you hear about the new German oven? Microwave oven? Seats 12. Bada bing, bada boom. Bad baseball. In the end, it's no more and no less than bad baseball.
Yeah.
And what you want pure is just swirling sound, a polka shadow of dust-stealing noise, taking our eyes in splinters, having sex in big league, heavy-shouldered lies, making poets echoing museums, and your YouTube moment is triple-duty chrome-plated apple screaming atrocity hoedown, yeah, daddy! Homeboy on Easy Street, ain't nothing to it but to do it. Once up upon a time, broken beezer, black eye, meaningless con gone horribly right. And so what if roaches worked out a better system several thousand years before God invented himself to market poorly made pastel leisure suits to preachers with eternal bad hair? That's just strike one. And then there's this. The hours can't look back because time's inspiration leads towards the smallest bus on the asphalt, an inkling in my head, time's a-wasting, time's a-wasting, time's a-wasting. I live in a notion-free zone where the straight isn't narrow, it's skinny as far as life is concerned, and it's up to you to pay attention to who's sitting or standing next to you, really. I think I'd rather have lived jammed back past where I did, one on another, like a black number 2 on a yell-out pencil. I'd rather have known something, anything, please. It's not all pencil erasers perpetually shrinking, constantly collapsing in silver-tongue spirals in the sure safety of self-centered gibberish. It's not like I'm engaged to Akhmatova or anything. Besides, I'm running out of Bukowski and Burroughs, and I can't bust hump on Cummings, Fromm, Getty, Kerouac, Sandberg, or Ginsberg anymore either. Truth be told, I'm running out of you, or on you. I can't tell the difference these days. I feel like Dr. Seuss or a conservative Republican in hell, talking to good Mother Teresa in self-centered drag, voguing for kicks in the spirals of microscopic cocktail insanity. How's that for artsy-fartsy? Who cares I'm the Jamoke dressed all in black? Who cares you earning the big dinero heaving attitude around like a muscatel bandito? The big bliss has been or never was. Either way, I was busy taking a searching, fearless, moral inventory of myself and missed it. Playing it straight is selling out to low-level corporate con with a smile slapped across your kisser, waiting for a few glitzy baubles and paying over-the-rainbow prices for an unwritten double-your-money-back guarantee. It happens every night when the poet has spent every bloody cent of message spread out against the lie and no one is left to collect the cadavers. That is what's laughably called a muse. Still, I am not amused.
Thank you. I thought for once I wouldn't rush up to the mic first, but thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Yay! And by the way, you did a reading of mine with that now had music from people from the Nashville area. What did you think of that? I don't remember.
I thought it was cool.
And
But it wasn't dissonant.
well,
Anything that accompanies me should really be dissonant.
should be like, it's just
It should be out of tune.
well, they're probably a little too Nashville-esque. I don't know.
I
have no idea.
I was from Nashville for 7 years.
And I think I'm trying. See, I got lights in my face. But do I see a certain man up there that's going to be a phenomenal feature?
There he
yes,
is.
I do.
Hey.
Hey, everybody, because we didn't get to applaud enough for him because he wasn't here before, give it up for our feature this evening, cc&d. I am going to ask my handy-dandy, ultra-sexy sidekick, Mr. Bob Rashka, to come up here and read something before our last open mic. Give it up for Bob! Oh, no, give it up for Bob!
Thank you. Just give me one. I wrote this some time ago too. The title is inspired by Otis Redding's sad song. So it's called the Fafafa poem. Dazed carefree frat boys, well stocked from the bars, serenade the indies from the windows of cars. Impatient drivers in chorus of scorn toot relentlessly on their golden horns. The TV at the laundromat drones on and on, hawking drugs and insurance for the big freakathon. Bus finally comes, but ride if you dare. Shell of a human, half down, smell to share. Far, much further from the maddening crowd, farmers hold fast to the land that they're still allowed. As youthful battalions argue toward fame, copying, pleading to earn someone else's gain. With poetry and literature trailing the race, every so often light falls on my face. I'm hanging on to a culture that's slipping away, growing fainter and fainter with each passing day. For the first time, I feel like I just can't go back. It's forge on ahead or fall through the cracks. Thanks.
Thank you. I feel really, really terribly bad because I can't find my liquor bag, my Crown Royal bag. And I'm like, what? But I can't see what...
Up there?
I've got a plastic bag because I got nothing else. I'm like, what do I have? I've got nothing. Or if I were sexy, I'd say stuff out my pants for a phenomenal feature, but he wouldn't get enough then. But I could use a huge fancy food bag, or I can use a plastic bag. I'm going to pass this over to that guy over there holding bags first, but give everything and anything you can for this phenomenal feature this evening. I'm handing the bag over. You figure out which bag you like. And then I'll have to throw a ton of money in it at the end, because that's, what I'm reduced to, I guess. So I was going to read one poem before what I think is our final open micer for the evening. So, some of you may have heard this before. I know for a fact some of you have heard this before. But I happen to have it with music from the How Man of South Africa, Francois Leroux. And it was released on a CD set with ours, and he's going to be coming in October, and he's a really cool musician and blah, blah, blah. So I've got to hype him however I can. But I want to also say, because it relates to this poem, I believe that things like diabetes affects many, many people. You can have diabetes from childbirth, or you can get it later in life. I believe both of my mother's parents ended up getting adult onset diabetes. I think they ate a lot of lard with their food. And I have no idea. But, things happen, and you deal with these things and have to cope with these issues. And I had to deal with it from someone I care very deeply about. And this piece, for those who don't know it, and of course it's in the book, Stabbity, Stabbity, Stab, Stab, Stab. It's easy. I'm seem to be good with the death stuff. This is a poem called Death Takes Many Forms. It is winter now. The trees have lost their leaves. The city is covered in a thin layer of soot and snow. In the sunless sky, black birds circle overhead, searching for prey. An eerie cold settles over everything. Nothing is growing anymore. Death takes many forms. For you, death first came when you were 5 years old, and your mother had to give you 3 shots of insulin a day until you could take a needle to yourself. Did it hurt to push that needle into your arm the first time? Or did it hurt you more to know you had no choice? Death takes many forms. Death can be someone telling you without trying that they are losing their eyesight. Behind Coke bottle glasses, you would see me and say, "That's a nice black suit you're wearing." And I would tell you, "It's green." And you wouldn't believe me. You wouldn't hear the howling wind of the changing seasons. Death takes many forms. I know what follows the autumn wind. It is winter now. Do you remember when it happened? The changes are subtle. The temperature drops, first only slightly. It's almost imperceptible. Only when the first snow falls do you realize where all the seasons have gone. Death takes many forms. Death can be a sweat-soaked shirt, the shakes, dizziness when you needed food. You would look as pale as a ghost as I would hold your cold, wet arm to steady you. Quick, some sugar will make everything better. Isn't everything better yet? Death takes many forms. The signs of death can come when you lose your circulation. "My feet are numb, Janet," you'd say. "I can't feel my feet anymore." And I would rub your feet for you. And you would say, "It makes a difference. You feel better." If only I could do this forever. Death takes many forms. I said goodbye to you to travel my own road, but I didn't think it was the last goodbye. How was I to know? When I left, I knew you didn't want me to go. And now it's my turn. Why are we always saying goodbye to each other? Are you trying to teach me a lesson? Because if you are, well, I've learned it. Trust me, I have. You can come back now. Death takes many forms, and now it seems you take me down with you. You take me down into that casket with you, and I'm running my hand along your jacket lapel. And I can feel the coldness of winter all around me. And I can hear them shoveling the dirt over my head. And I want to get out. And I want to take you with me. Death takes many forms. Death can be that hole you left. You know, right over here. Just a little to the left. I keep wondering when the pain will go away. When everything will be better. You once showed me that winters could be beautiful. Instead of the dark and dirty snow lacing the city streets, you showed me a quieting snowfall over a lake at your parents' backyard, glistening in an untouched whiteness. I told you I hated winters, and you told me, this you don't hate. Well, I'm still learning. It is winter now, and death takes many forms. The seasons change for you and I. It is snowing, and something is ending. It is snowing. Somewhere, it is snowing. I get very, very exhausted from reading that. Sorry. But, it's a strong piece. And it's awesome music, too. So I was all enraptured by Frank Waller's music there. So please, if I got it all correct, I've got my last one record for the evening. I'll give it up for a man who has his own show on Mondays. And I had to miss it 2 days ago. Please give it up for Patrick Hurley. Patrick, get out there.
Out of here. Thank you very much, Janet. The feature's awesome. Heard him read several times. I have a show, Ruffled Feathers, at Roosters Cafe. Roosters is located at the corner of Diversey and Kedzie. It is the second and fourth Monday of each month. And we've had 2 already, and they've been great. It's a wonderful venue and great food. And I'll be featuring at Elizabeth's Little Thing, or whatever it is, at Phyllis's on the 9th.
About your open mic, you said that there was music in yours.
There is.
What is that?
It is, first of all, there are no features, no slams, no requests for money, just artists expressing themselves. And I have several types of artists. So if you know a comedian who wants to do jokes, if you want, I had a story reader this time that read half of his short story and left us all in suspension, and then came up later and finished the short story. So it's definitely a place to come and try new things and express yourself. The venue is open for the artists, not, for the artists. For us, the artists. The ones who carry forward society. These poems I give you, words, expressions, emotions, feelings. They are free and can be dismissed, but they will exist nonetheless. Take them, leave them, they are yours. Nothing is everything. On the porch, my hands are cold, driven by the thought, the feeling of my thumb on your ear, fingers touching the nape of your neck. We eat and drink and share ourselves open. This is where foundations are laid. Your hand in mine, under the blanket, fingers dovetailed comfort. This is comfort, satisfaction, simplicity. Hand in hand, feet wrapped in a supple braid. I rest my head on your bosom, you pet my head. We relax. An evening spent doing nothing is everything. So many years, the pain, the loneliness, the longing for release, for pleasure denied, withheld. Here, now it waits, damned by lack of love. Love lost is not better than no love. To not know you would have been better than knowing you in this way. In the cold. We are in the cold, shivering our existence, gasping for something solid, holding the familiar. Our bones ache with time. We, wide-eyed, yearn for rest, for peace, for sleep. Close your eyes. It is coming. Your lips, For you, I wash my hands, I wash my face, rinse my mouth, remove the stench of my catharsis. Your lips are the reward. Our embrace shelters the cold of my bones. It is worth it because you don't request it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think all of us were just like, should we applaud? Because there's all these pieces. Huh? Should we stop? Should we applaud? I was going to close this off, but I just saw an open micer come in, Michael Hogue, and I have no idea. Should I be really loud? Michael, do you want to read? It's probably in the washroom. I have no idea if you could hear it. There, and he's busy.
He's cleaning his hands.
He's washing his hands. I have no idea if he wants to read or not, but he is more than welcome to. Would you like to read this evening?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
You think you may, because otherwise it's going to be at the end of the night. So I'm going, yay! And, what would you like to read?
Michael, all right, how are you?
Have a seat, or should I? You come up here and I will close it off with the poem. How about that? Or yeah, give it up, please. Give it up for Mr. Late Bloomer, Michael Hogue. Yay!
Sorry.
How you been? Good to see you. So nice.
We'll talk about walking in and having an open mind. All right. I'll just read 2 poems. I know you like red and orange green peppers, and seasonal employment, and to hone spoons, and cut jade and everything in a drain. And I know you like silent letters, and 2 socks on a foot, and ammonia and bleach, and the Cistercian order, and those underground. And I know you like cutting a face into fruit, and different ways of hanging clothes, and spelling out your voice, and broiling squash, and letting paper fly. And I know you like to wait for the oven, and holding roots underground, and cut into core, and marching in all the different systems. And I know you like forever awareness, and eggs in a rack, and those that cry, and a skin and bone, and a cut and core, and everyday real. All right, this other one is, this one I just wrote just recently. Let me hold a root. Let me hold a root in the dirt. I'll dig with my elbow and maybe my knee, since my fingernails might cut bark. And I'll dig down to my shoulder and lay on my side until the dirt exhales and the root begins to pull. Let me hold air in the dirt, and I'll push my hand down to my shoulder and hollow out a bowl with my thumb and forefinger, and just let my hand hang there. And I promise I won't let my lungs touch it. And I promise I won't let my blood transport it. I'll just want to hold some air away from all the other ordinary air. Let me hold a foot in the dirt. I'll bury you to your knees so you won't fall, and dig underneath and hold your foot by your foot like a plate. And I'll hold you up and not let you fall. I'll let you stand and not make you stay. And let you go, and I promise not to hold on too hard. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, just like our last guy's like, do we know what we should applaud? You go in between pieces. I was like, oh, should we? I'm gonna close. Is there anybody else that is up for the open mic? Anybody? All right, 1, 2, 3, you're out. I got nobody. I'd love it if you would. I was going to end with one piece that happens to appear in the book called Recovery, and I just thought I'd show off the book, Recovery. So it actually is a poem with music from Francois Leroux, the How Man of South Africa, but I think more importantly, it also happens to have vocals from somebody who isn't here this evening. It's a bit of a drive for Esteban Colon to come up just for hearing a recording of his voice. He read a bunch of poems, and so Esteban read this poem called The Hunter and the Fox, and so I'm going to join him in the reading of this poem. I have no idea how the quality of this is going to turn out, but we will see. Seriously, I have no idea, but that's just me. I'm terrible that way. This is called The Hunter and the Fox. Thank you to Francois Leroux. And thank you to Esteban Colon. This is The Hunter and the Fox.
I've been a hunter, you know.
I've been a hunter, you know.
I've been working at it for a while. I've gotten pretty good.
I've been working at it for a while. I've gotten quite good at
I've been
it.
looking for the right prey all this time.
I've been looking for the right prey all this time.
Someone I could
Dominate.
Isn't that my role, you know?
Isn't that my role, you know? I've been looking for an animal.
I'm looking for an animal, for a fox.
For a fox.
Someone that would be a good showpiece.
Someone that would be a good showpiece.
I've been looking
I've been looking
this time,
all this time.
and I'm still looking, so
And I'm still looking, so
where is she?
where is he? Thank you. And I can tell you where he is. He's right over there at GPA, the Board and Somber. Phenomenal feature this evening. He's going to be up in like 5 minutes. We're going to give him like 5 minutes. He's like, I'm all hyped. I'm ready to go. But I'm giving everybody a chance to refill their beers, blah, blah, blah. And then we're going to have a phenomenal show from GPA. So thank you.